It is here, guys. It is here. My Divas video. You guys have been asking for it, and I am giving it to you. My opinion and some of my favorite divas of all time. That's right, guys. This video is going to be about some of my favorite divas, some of my favorite in-ring women workers, and also some of the women that I just think are very attractive and were some of my favorite. Let's get into some of my favorite divas. Let's start from the beginning. You know, when I first started noticing women when I was a kid and started, finding them attractive, the first wrestler woman that I was very attracted to, and she wasn't really a wrestler, more of a valet manager, was Sunny, Tammy Lynn Finch. She was the first woman's wrestler in the wrestling world that, man, I was really attracted to, man. Sunny was just a beautiful, hot, blonde bombshell, man. She was one of my favorite, and I remember some of the storylines as the kid. As a kid, my first time seeing Sunny, I think, was an episode of ECW. Wasn't really that long. I was watching that. I might have only seen her a couple times when I was a kid, and then I really noticed her and discovered her when she wrestled or was in the WWE as Sunny. I remember some of the storylines. I mean, she came out with the Body Donnas, was her first role with her boyfriend, fiance, I don't know what they were, Chris Candido, that wrestled under Skip. And it kind of evolved from there, he was a bad character. He didn't last, but after he went away, man, Sunny did it, man. She stayed around, and she had some really fun storylines. I remember, she was the first woman that I remember that was really turning guys against each other. I remember there was one time where she was with the Godwins, that tag team, and kind of turning them against each other. Then the next week, you see her dressed as a cowgirl with the smoking guns with Billy and Bart. She was just an awesome diva, man. I mean, she was turning them against each other, and then when they went a little bit more risque in '97, they started getting a little sexier, and that was kind of the dawn of the Attitude Era. They had three attractive women. To me, like I said, I was more of a Sunny girl, but they had Marlena, Goldust's wife, Dustin Runnels. They had her, wasn't too attracted to her, but she had nice assets. Let's just leave it at that. And also you had Sable, who with Mark Merrill and originally came out with Triple H. This may upset some people, but I was never really a big Sable fan as being attractive. I know one of my best friends loves Sable, but I won't deny it. She has a beautiful body, and those of you who may be blonde, don't take this offended. Don't be offended by this. I'm not too much of a blonde fan. There is blonde women that I like, but for the most part, I'm a brunette type of guy. Maybe some redheads here and there, but Sable just never did it for me. I mean, she had a great body, but Sable was always just she just reminded me of your average Playboy playmate, which she eventually was in Playboy multiple times. And that brings me to another woman that she was in Playboy with, Tori Wilson. Kind of skipping generations here. I like Tori Wilson. Tori Wilson was never my favorite, but I always thought she was attractive. I remember, seeing her in WCW, and I remember the first time I really saw her, it was in an NWO angle back in '99, if I remember correctly. It was Super Brawl, leading up to Super Brawl, and that Super Brawl, 1999, and she was her first storyline was with David Flair in WCW, and the NWO used her to have him, David Flair, betray Ric Flair in a Ric Flair Hulk Hogan angle. They used it really nicely. Tori Wilson was one of my other favorite. And this one may sound a little weird to you guys, but and I never really started finding her attractive as a kid. I never did. She never meant anything. But once when I was an adult and my taste of women kind of changed, this may surprise you, but Miss Elizabeth. That's right, Miss Elizabeth. Rest in peace. She's passed on many years back. But man, I'll tell you, more in the NWO days. You know, back in the 80s and early 90s with the Macho Man, I'd never really paid too much attention with her. Maybe once when she started dressing in black and going along with the NWO angle, I started getting into it. But man, once when she started dressing in black and kind of opening up her character a little bit, you know, because at first she was kind of like, just a stuck-up woman. You know, she was okay. She was never ugly. I mean, you know, she was beautiful, but I never thought she was hot. But man, I started thinking she was hot once she started dressing in that black with the NWO. And I'm like, man, you know what? Miss Elizabeth, not that bad. But rest in peace. No offense, but Lex Luger and her were in a bad time. They got all drugged up and she overdosed. So rest in peace there. I hate to end that one with a downer, but let's go on with some more women. And then, you know, you had Stacy Keibler, who started off in WCW, one of the only big successes out of the Nitro Girls, in my opinion. You know, some of you may say, hey, what about Booker T's wife? What about Kimberly? Which I'm gonna get into Kimberly in a minute too. I also thought she was very attractive, one of the only great Nitro Girls when the Nitro Girls first started off. Actually, you know, I'm already talking about it. Let's get into Kimberly. You know, I really, at first, thought she was the only really great Nitro Girl at the time was Kimberly. Man, she was hot, man. And I remember when those when she did her Playboy spread. Oh man, DDP, you're a cock block, brother. You know, it's so great. You know, she's so hot. You're like, oh yeah, man, she's gonna be in Playboy. This will be awesome. You flip it open here, you know, in the celebrity edition, and what do you see? You see DDP, man. You see DDP, you know, with a cigar maybe, standing above Kimberly. You're like, oh man, come on, man. I just want to see a chick, dude. I don't want to see DDP, man. That guy's an ugly motherfucker. No offense, I love DDP. Great wrestler, great gimmick. But yeah, man, dude, man, when people go through a Playboy magazine looking at nude photos, dude, no offense, DDP, next time, I know it was a long time ago, but man, don't be in the picture, brother. You ruined it, man. You're a cock block. Anyways, there you have it, man. We got Kimberly in there, and then I was seeing the other WCW great that really went somewhere into the Nitro Girl sensation was when they had a Nitro Girl tryout video with Stacy Keibler. And of course, what do people think about when they think of Stacy Keibler? The legs, the long, attractive legs. Well, it used as a great wrestling gimmick. WWE really went forward with that once when she went in WWE. But then she even had that song, you know, she got legs. You know, I think they did the Kid Rock version of that. Did a really great job. I really liked her storyline with in WCW, not WCW, WWE. What they did with Big Papa Pump, man, when they had Big Papa Pump with her at Test, and they kind of had like a little three-way love triangle going on there. I thought that was very, very great here. And I'm gonna skip around, like I said, I'm skipping around generations here. And then for today's generation, you know, what I like is I'm gonna take that back. Today's generation, and probably more in the late 2000s. In the late 2000s to today, women's wrestling got really good too. The athletes got better, and you know, at first, you know, during the Attitude Era and going in the you know, the end days of WCW and the early part of the Attitude Era, it was more about attractive wrestling. You know, attractive wrestling, attractive females, getting those really attractive females on wrestling and get guys watching the very. But you know, now today, starting in the mid 2000s, all the way up today, there's some great women wrestlers that are not just hot, not just great to look at, but great wrestlers. Like today, I mean, you got like today on the main roster, I think AJ Lee is one of the great wrestlers in today's wrestling, women's wrestling. Great wrestler. She's really came a long way. WWE's came a long way for her. You know, compared to when she first started, when she did the whole Daniel Bryan storyline, and then she was used as a real love triangle person. You know, so I think she had storylines with a lot. Romantic storylines with a lot of people. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, I think even a little weird one with Kane. You know, she had all these weird little storylines, but after we got past all that, she became one of the best women in today's modern wrestling. And then another woman who I think is a great wrestler. I don't really find her that attractive. I mean, she's not ugly or anything, but she's a great wrestler, is Natalya Neidhart from the Hart Foundation, the Hart Dynasty, or whatever you want to call her, from the Hart family. Let's just say it. You know, she is a great women's wrestler. But you know what? It's really kind of hard to like her as a person. I'm sorry, you know, Natalya. But the reason why I say that is, you know, she knows she's good, and she is. She's one of the best women wrestler in today's wrestling. But man, she has to let everybody know that, especially in the Total Divas show. You know, I watched that with my wife, the Total Divas, and man, she always has to let everybody know. Oh yeah, you know, I'm the best wrestler, and you know, they're not doing nothing with you. No, they're not doing nothing with you, Natalya. And you know the reason why is because they're keeping you around because you're a great wrestler. But the point is, you know, you're not going to make guys ooh and ah over you, okay? You know, they're not going to ooh and ah over you. You're not crazy attractive, which, I mean, she's not ugly either. I mean, but, you know, let's just face facts, you know? I mean, they keep her around because she's a great teacher for the new divas. I mean, keep her on the road because she's a good influence for some of these girls. I mean, you see that on Total Divas, kind of mentoring people like Rosa Mendez, who's just pretty crazy. And that's pretty much what they're thinking with her. Great wrestler. And one of today's wrestler that I really like, going back to more of the attractive angle, and a good wrestler, she's really attractive and she's a great wrestler, is I'm into Paige, man. You know, my wife likes, my wife laughs, but I do have a little thing for Paige, man. She is a very, very sexy little English crumpet, man. I like Paige. You know, she very beautiful, and she's a great wrestler too. I liked her in NXT. Saw some of her work there. You know, I'll admit I didn't see a lot of her NXT. Just saw some of it more towards the end, and then of course, all her WWE stuff. Love her storylines. I think WWE did a good job pushing her as a top diva right away. But I'm a big Paige fan. I like Paige. Very beautiful young lady, you know, and she's very young. I think she's just 21 or 22. So she's going to be around for a long time, I hope. I mean, what makes Paige really good is, which I think is going to keep her around longevity-wise, is that she is very beautiful, and she's very young, and she's a great wrestler. I mean, she's not just a face. She's a woman that could get it done in the ring. And I didn't know this. I actually listened to this, more free advertising, guys. I was listening to the Chris Jericho podcast. Recently, she was on the Chris Jericho podcast, and I had no idea that she actually comes from a family of wrestlers. Paige actually comes from a whole line of wrestlers, English wrestlers. A lot of them, they were more in a UK promotion type of thing. So I never really heard of her mom and her dad. But her mom, her dad, her brothers, they're all wrestlers out in the UK. And her dad has a promotion or something. So, yeah, so she's been around the wrestling game for a long time. I think she says she's been wrestling since like 12 or 13, and it seems like it's quite common in the UK to wrestle at that young age. William Regal and a lot of other guys I heard wrestled at a very young age. But moving on, who else do we got here? I'm sure I'm leaving a lot of women out, so guys, I'm sure you're going to be commenting on that. Please feel free to comment. Like I said, this is going to be my first of many Divas videos. I'm going to be doing more. Let's get to a little bit more before we wrap this thing up here. And here's one from TNA. I'm going to throw a TNA Diva out there, or Knockouts. I'm sorry, they call them Knockouts in TNA, is Velvet Sky. Sounds like such a porn star name, doesn't it? Velvet Sky. Anyways, I like Velvet Sky because she's different. She doesn't look like your WWE diva. I'm gonna be honest with you. She looks like a porn star, man. I mean, she's over there, you know, she looks naughty, you know, she doesn't look like your typical WWE diva, you know. NXT kind of, you know, they went kind of a different route there with her, and she has a very interesting look, and she's a pretty good in-ring wrestler too. I mean, she's not great. I mean, she's not like one of the greatest women wrestlers, but she's a pretty good athlete herself, and she's very attractive. And then let's end this video with some attitude divas, shall we? and two in specific. And you know, the two standouts of the Attitude Era of Divas were Trish Stratus and Lita. Trish Stratus, of course, was always a beautiful hot woman. I mean, she had two very I don't want to offend anybody, two big breasts that really stood out. I mean, and eventually, you know, at first, kind of like the same thing with AJ a little bit, started off more of just a attractive woman that was more of a valet and used for storylines and that type of stuff. But eventually, you know, once she started getting in the ring, was a really good wrestler. She was a really good wrestler, and of course, the other woman I'm going to be talking about that she really stood out with was Lita. And here's the thing about Lita. I thought Lita was personally attractive. Now, here's the thing about Lita, and I think it was said in some videos, some WWE videos, and it's a really true fact, is, you know, Lita's the type of girl that, you know, you don't want to bring home to, you know, mom, you know, and it was said, you know, I'm quoting, and it really is true because it's how I feel. You don't want to bring her home. You know, she's different. She has the tattoos, the red hair, you know, but, you know, you just want to get it on with, you know. She, you know, Lita's kind of like that secret girl, you know, like, yeah, you know, I'm going to be with her. I don't want to take her home, but she looks like a girl you could have fun with, you know. But Lita, again, was, I mean, she had wrestling experience. She wrestled in Mexico. She really knew how to wrestle going into it. You know, she first came out with the S.A. Rios, and eventually, you know, her and Trish Stratus are best friends in real life. They both, I believe, inducted each other into the Hall of Fame. And but boy, they were known to have some really good matches together, Trish and Lita. So yeah, let's just end it with there, man. Let's end it with that right there. Oh, one more. Let's hit one more. Let's hit an ECW one. Also went to the WWE. How about Dawn Marie, huh? What about Dawn Marie? Dawn Marie was another great. She was more of a valet. She was great eye candy. Me personally, you know, I didn't think she was real attractive, but her body was real nice. She really stood out. She was involved in great storylines. They did bring her in WWE. And the first storyline that I remember that really stands out in her WWE career, Dawn Marie, was the storyline she had with Tori Wilson. You know, her and Tori were rivaling for a long time. And this was back when they had the brand extension, so you had SmackDown and Raw, and this was during SmackDown, and Dawn Marie and Tori were rivaling, and then Dawn Marie, I remember, marries Tori Wilson's dad, and it was real cheesy, but it was real funny, and the storyline went a long way. She married Tori Wilson's dad, and then I remember they had the honeymoon filmed, and you saw that, you know, Tori Wilson's dad, I forgot his name, Tori Wilson's dad's name, and Dawn Marie, they were in bed together on their honeymoon, and Tori Wilson's dad has a heart attack while Dawn Marie is pretty much like, you know, they didn't show it, but pretty much letting you know she pretty much like screwed him to death. They like effed so much and his heart couldn't handle it, and Tori Wilson's dad died in the storyline. I'm sure that wasn't her real dad, but on storyline wise, so you know it's cheesy. You know, they didn't kill off her dad in that fashion. But it was really funny, did it really well. It was a really good storyline. Then I remember they even took it a bit further the next week on SmackDown. I remember they had a funeral for Dawn Marie's dad. Oh man, it was funny, man. They had a funeral for Dawn Marie for Tori Wilson's dad, and Dawn Marie was there giving the eulogy for her husband because they were married on the storyline. Then Tori Wilson comes out and they get into this big old fight. Tori Wilson and Dawn Marie gets into this fight right there in the funeral home and people there, and they even knock over the casket, you know, Tori Wilson's dad. It was funny, it was cheesy, but back then they really did a lot of that. I believe, don't quote me on that, I believe that was in 2004 or 2003 to 2004, somewhere in that time gap. And if you guys are interested in that storyline, shoot me an email and I'll give you guys the exact dates on that, and you guys could look that up on the network or something on YouTube. But it was a very funny storyline. Okay, the video went a little longer than I hope. Hopefully you guys liked my Divas video, and there you guys have it. So until the next video, I hope you guys stay safe, and I will see you for the next one. Bye, guys.